Hello everyone, and welcome back, well, not to the railway shed, but for a special video marking the 40th anniversary of Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends. Today, we'll be taking a look at my personal home media collection from the series, ranging from railway series books, through to DVDs, and even more such as CDs and games. This might be a very long video, so grab yourself a drink, maybe a snack, and enjoy. What better place to start than the first book of the railway series, The Three Railway Engines by the Reverend W. Awdry. I've had this copy for as long as I can remember, and it's a particularly special edition, which I'll just about show you now. On the inside, you can see it's both signed by Veronica Chambers, who I met at the Awdry Extravaganza this year, as well as none other than Christopher Awdry himself, the son of the Reverend Wilbur Awdry, who wrote the original Railway Series books, and then continued the Railway Series books after his father stopped writing them. This is the absolute pride of my collection, and probably the thing I hold most dear, as it is just so special. I truly can't thank my parents enough for all those years ago at A Day Out with Thomas getting it signed by Christopher Awdry. Moving on with the railway series is book number 4, Tank Engine Thomas Again. The next few books that I'm about to show you have been ones I've collected from several charity shops over many years. If I remember correctly, I got this one in Felixstowe quite a few years ago. Something notable about this book, however, is the fact that it was produced in the late 1980s, which is different from the rest of my books, which I believe are from a collection, or several other collections, box sets. Carrying on with the railway series is book number 8, Gordon the Big Engine. This is probably the most damaged of my collection, as you can see the spine is quite mangled. Up next is Duck and the Diesel Engine, book number 13. Something notable about this one is that I got it in a charity shop on my first video visit to Wales back in 2023, so I've had this almost a year now. Then, going narrow gauge, is book number 14, The Little Old Engine, followed up by book number 19, Mountain Engines. Next is probably my favourite book of the railway series, Very Old Engines. I really like the different cover art compared to the other books, as well as the stories within. As any Thomas fan should have, is a copy of Enterprising Engines, which has some of the best standard gauge stories within the whole series. And then lastly, well, in terms of the smaller railway series books, is book number 26, Tramway Engines. This is the last book Reverend Wilbur Awdry wrote before he retired, so it's definitely a notable one. However, that is not the end of the railway series, as I have two compilation books of the whole series. I have this one, which was my childhood copy, which I've read many a time, as well as this 60th anniversary complete collection, which comes in a lovely case. Now to get started with DVDs. This one is the Complete Series 1, which is the 2012 re-release. Season 1 isn't my favourite season, but it's an absolute classic and one that every Thomas fan should have. Of course, you can't have Season 1 without Season 2. This as well as the 2012 re-release of the DVD. While a great DVD, a weird thing about these is the promo images they use for Thomas. Both Season 1 and Season 2 use stock images from the hit era, then over the model classic series, Seasons 1 to 7. There's quite a big gap, as I do not currently have seasons 3, 4, 5 or 6, which I really would like to get. But this is the complete series 7, which as well as the 2012 release. Personally, I think that seasons 6 and 7 are quite underrated, and though not as good as the original 1 to 5, are still very strong seasons compared to what comes later in the show. While not technically a complete series DVD, I have Thomas's Trusty Friends, which contains all but 2 episodes of the Jack and the Pack spin-off series. I do not, however, have the DVD, which was, I think, a newspaper exclusive, of the 2 other episodes of the series. Now onto everyone's favourite bunch of series is the Hit Era. As you can see, I got this DVD for 50p. This, along with 9, 10 and 11, all have the Classic Collection branding. This DVD, however, is a tad sun-faded on the front, where it's been moved around in shops and homes beforehand. Then comes Season 9, which is more of the same from the Hit Era. The notable thing about, I believe, 9, 10 and 11 is that I got them brand new from HMV, and not in charity shops like I find most of the DVDs I have. I also have the complete Series 10, which comes in this packaging, and the complete Season 11, which is the last fully model-based series of the programme. Up next is this Nightmare Fuel, with the CGI Hybrid series of Season 12. This was one I also bought brand new, and is one that I have never watched. What a shame it is that I'm missing all of the Nitrogen era. This jumps on, however, to the complete Season 17, which is personally one of my favourite seasons. This has probably been the complete series DVD that I've watched the most. Following that is the complete series 18, which is another really good season. These, however, is my last complete series DVD. I still need to get seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, 20. I know the other seasons aren't readily available as complete series DVDs on DVD. Now for something a bit more theatrical, with my copy of Thomas and the Magic Railroad on DVD. Though a very questionable film, I still really like it. Next up is one I haven't watched since I was about, 5? Calling All Engines, which I remember being quite a boring film. Then, this is probably the best film created in the model era, The Great Discovery, which is one I've rewatched countless times. Next up is Hero of the Rails, which was the first all CGI production within the series. This is a very okay movie. I really like what it does with developing the characters into having, voices and moving faces. However, I feel it does drag at some points, but I suppose that can be get used to as the team were working with a whole new medium. Overall, a very decent film though. Then, onto this, which, it's definitely a movie. So is this one. Definitely a movie. However, despite the flaws of this film, I think it really does have a very great soundtrack. Now onto probably my favourite of the movies, Blue Mountain Mystery. This is my childhood copy, which I've had since the movie released in 2012, and is quite battered. However, this is probably the film I rewatch the most, as it is just such a great Thomas movie, and I would definitely recommend to anyone. Then is probably what I think is the most underrated movie of the franchise, with King of the Railway. This one I probably rewatched just under the amount I rewatched Blue Mountain Mystery, as it's one I have the most fond memories of seeing in the cinema back in 2013 when it came out. I remember after we went to Toys R Us and I got the Trackmaster Stephen, and Stephen's probably one of my favourite characters in the whole franchise. Then's a pretty good movie with Tale of the Brave, which I quite like. Then's probably the most cinematic of the Thomas movies, Legend of the Lost Treasure, which I struggle to believe is turning 10 years old next year, with the 80th anniversary coming just around the corner. Then, for the 70th anniversary, the team released The Adventure Begins, which I think is a very great adaptation of the first few Railway series stories into a cohesive narrative. This is definitely one of my favourite films. While it had shorter than the main ones, it's definitely something that I'd recommend to any Thomas fan who hasn't seen it. But anyways, who hasn't seen this film? Following that is The Great Race, which for some reason, when released, came with an exclusive Top Trumps pack. I no longer have the cards, but I do retain the slipcase that the film came in. Then is probably the last hurrah of the series with Journey Beyond Sodor, which I think is a quite good movie, despite some of its flaws such as the bouncing, which I suppose they had to include for what followed the next year. Then is my only Big World Big Adventures DVD, which is Steam Team to the Rescue. I only got this one because A, it's a 70th anniversary thing, and B, I didn't know they put any of Bubba on DVDs until I saw this, other than the movie, which I don't own. Now for the more episodic DVDs. This treat-size one being Season 2's A Close Shave, as well as other episodes from Season 2. Then we have a Season 6 DVD as well as a Season 7 DVD, being Brave Little Engines and Pulling Together. I don't know what it is, but Thomas just looks off in this cover art. Then onto some of the hit era episodic DVDs. This one's being Three Cheers for Thomas. The thing about the hit era DVDs is that I'm not 100% sure on the order they came out in, so if there's any a bit jumbled up, that's why. Then It's Great to Be an Engine. We also have On Tracks for Adventure, which is a rare DVD mainly about the narrow gauge characters. Then The Spirit of Sodor, which I've heard is one of the most boring DVDs that they've ever released. Then a copy from Tales from the Tracks from 2005. We can see this as on the back it has the 60th anniversary logo, as well as advertising Calling All Engines as a brand new feature special. We also have All Aboard with the Steam Team. Carnival Capers, which I believe is the only disc that has just Season 10 episodes on it, or the only release of Season 10 on a disc, other than the complete series DVDs. Christmas Express. We also have the only release on Season 12 on an individual DVD, Heave Ho. Then for the 65th anniversary, we have Creaky Cranky, which contains some of the first episodes from the CGI series. We also have Thomas and the Runaway Kite, Splish Splash Splosh, which I believe is the sort of trilogy of Season 13 DVDs. Up, Up and Away. The Return to Misty Island with Wobbly Wheels and Whistles. Sticky Situations. Muddy Matters, Dinos and Discoveries, which I have multiple discs of, as it also came in the complete Series 18 disc set. Season 19's A Whale of a Tale, Extraordinary Engines, and the last DVD I ever got new, Christmas on Sodor, which has episodes from season 21 on it. Now we have some of the compilation DVDs. This one contains a multitude of episodes from the first few series, being the Seasonal Scrapes Bumper Collection. Another very good DVD is The Best of Thomas and Friends, which has 16 episodes from the first, I believe, 5 series. It's definitely a very good one. I also have The Best of Thomas, Percy and James, which were released for the 65th anniversary, as well as a 70th anniversary DVD being First Class Stories, which does not have some of the best episodes of the series on it. Here are some cool ones, which are my Welsh copies of The Fogman, as well as Hip Hip Hooray Thomas. I found these in charity shops when I first did the Wales trip last year in 2023. I have not watched these yet, so I don't know if they have an English sort of speaking option or they're just in Welsh. But nonetheless, they're a cool thing to own. Now for probably the weirdest DVD in my collection is Thomas's Halloween Adventures, which is the Anchor Bay release. This is so strange because I've not ever got a Thomas DVD in the States, and I found this just in a normal charity shop over here. So how this got here, I do not know. It also contains the original booklet from the DVD. However, this DVD just won't work on my television, as it's region locked, I'm pretty sure. I will test it though. Here we have my only Thomas game, which is Thomas and Friends Hero of the Rails for the Nintendo DS, which I remember quite fondly when playing it as a child. Here are my, as of now, only 2 Thomas the Tank Engine CDs. This one being a compilation of some of the Railway series stories from Branch Line Engines, and this one being Volume 1 of Mike O'Donnell's The Engine Themes, who I was lucky enough to meet at the Spa Valley Railway exhibition a few weeks ago. This is one I completely forgot about, but this is a copy of Thomas and the Magic Railroad with a strange sort of cardboard case, which I believe these were some of the first Thomas DVDs ever released. So yeah, that's my Thomas and Friends home media collection as of 2024. I hope you enjoyed this longer video, as it took quite a while to make. So, without any further ado, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.